Hello Sioux Falls and welcome to Planning Preview for the month of October. My name is Jason Bieber at the Planning Office at the City of Sioux Falls, and joining me today as always is Janet, our Planning Commission Chairman.
Hello Jason, how are you?
Doing great, how about yourself?
Very good.
Yeah, so we've still got quite a bit of stuff on our agenda for October, and kind of some interesting ones, so maybe we'll get right into it. What do you think?
Absolutely. We'll take the first one off the bat. It looks like we're doing a rezone from single family residential to twin home duplex, and that's over kind of on the west side of town, 41st Street, kind of by that Sanford Wellness, right?
Yep. So a little farther west than that, and then on the south side of 41st Street. So this is kind of that new area on south of 41st Street and west of Veterans, where you're starting to see some development over there.
Sure.
And which is crazy as you start going out to the landfill area, how much has been built out there. But yeah, just giving them a little bit more options when you're along those arterial, and collectors. They could do twin homes or single family, so it kind of fits in with those other plans out there. So
makes sense.
Yep.
All right, our next item, we're doing a rezone, and the rezone is from ag, single family, and twin home, and then we're rezoning to conservation single family, and that's East Madison and North 6 Mile Road, so lots of development out there.
Yeah, so this would be kind of just north of Fred Assam Elementary School out there. And really just, it sounds like a lot, but just some small boundary line adjustments, and there's some detention areas that are currently zoned single family, getting them to conservation for just detention. So really not a lot going on, but a really long paragraph to read.
Just works that way sometimes. Our next one is we're doing a rezone from commercial to the twin home duplex. And this one's, gosh, it's in town here. It's on 408 South Cleveland. Marv's Body Shop, someplace around there? Yeah,
kind of just actually north of Booze Boys, that's on there in the corner. So it's like 10th and Cleveland area, or 12th and Cleveland. Yeah, this is just a property that was zoned commercial for some reason, and it's had a single family house on it for a long time. And so the owner of the house is trying to sell it as residential. Sometimes banks struggle with giving people loans for residential when it's non-conforming. So just kind of matching the current zoning with the current use. Yep.
Sounds good. The next one, we're doing a rezone from residential apartments over to the general institutional district. This is Kingdom Boundaries, and that's at 417 South Summit. Yeah.
So this is, we had a Kingdom Boundaries application 2 months ago on this. That was a new facility that they were looking to move into. Obviously, that did not pass, and they withdrew that. So this is actually their facility they've been using since about 2015 on Summit Avenue. So this is the one apartment that they have their offices in the main level, and then they have a couple levels of apartments there. So we're just doing the one building, and then I think they own 2 buildings to the north that they just use for residential. So just trying to get it conforming with the current use of them kind of doing a halfway house there. So
sounds good. All right, then our next one is a rezone from twin home duplex over to the O office, 40th and Phillips. That's the Han Financial Group, which we heard a little bit about before. But
Yep. So we had this one probably, I don't know, 6 months ago, kind of talking about that. It's that Han Financial Group. They've had that business in kind of that core area of 40th and Phillips for a long time. He's continuing to do pretty well and needs to expand with employees and a little bit more parking for their employees. We originally had the request, and he owns 3 residential properties and was looking to tear down all 3 of those and expand. We did hear some pushback from some of the neighbors about, hey, do we really need to get rid of this much housing stock? Which I think is a viable reason for some questions that they had, and went back to the applicant, and so now the applicant's looking to actually do the addition on the west side of his building, and then there's just one house to the south that he would look to tear down, and then he'd have to expand his parking lot. He just doesn't have enough parking for his employees for that. So we'd go from 3 houses being torn down to 1. So that'll kind of help a little bit, allow them to continue to expand so they don't have to move out of the core area, and then just still keep some of that housing stock that's in there. So
yeah, seems like a good compromise. Absolutely. The next one is we're moving from a rezone from office district to the light industrial district, and this one's Delbridge Avenue and East North Marion Road. So to help me, where are we at here?
This would be just north of the West Side Banquet. if you're out there. So
yes.
Jim Sukup's construction business is kind of on the east side of Delbridge, and there's some vacant land on the west side and just north of the banquet. He's looking to expand his contractor business to the west there, that property. So a lot of it's been zoned industrial, but there's a west portion that we reserved for office to kind of provide a transition to the existing manufactured housing on the west side of Marion Road. So as part of this, as part of a compromise, we're going to be looking to request approval, but with a condition that the applicant's okay with, to provide that level D buffer yard along the west portion along Marion Road, and any other things that that they work with the banquet would like to have kind of a separation to go through that, and the applicant's very supportive of that, and that'll still provide us with that transition to those residential across the arterial street. So
nice, very good. All right, then we have one last one, a rezone from commercial community district to the general institutional district, and this is on East 26th Street, west of Highline Avenue, so Dolly Farms, right?
Yep, so this is an extension of the state's one-stop shop. So we did the big one for the building and the parking area. The applicant owns the parcel to the north, and about half of that on the west side needs a little bit more space for parking for the stage shop. So he's going to rezone it to S1 for parking for that. And then the east half, that's going to be along Highline, will continue to be commercial, and he'll build probably a retail strip center there at some point. So.
Sure, that big groundbreaking was yesterday, wasn't it?
Yes. And then we did have one more at the beginning here. Just wanted to give you an update. Our office had been working probably for the past about 18 months or so on the new updated downtown plan. So the 2035 downtown plan. So that was kind of a big in-house operation from Dustin Powers and Adam Roach in our office to write that. And after their long ordeal of writing it, so 100 pages plus, and doing all the graphics and stuff, we're ready to present it to you guys just as a informational item, and then it would go to City Council for an approval. So kind of an exciting thing to show where we think the downtown will go in 2035, and really get us a plan to keep kind of moving in the future. So
that is very exciting. Looking forward to hearing about that more.
So it should be a kind of a cool thing. So well, thanks, Janet.
You're welcome.
And stay tuned, Sioux Falls. After the break, we're going to have Neil King, who's our chief building inspector, on. He's going to talk a little bit about building inspections, what maybe private homeowners need to do to get an inspection, and really where our numbers at for this year. So stay tuned.
Hey, this is Seth, and I work for the City of Sioux Falls in the Housing Division. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about gutters and why it's important to make sure that your gutters are clean going into the winter. I know right now it looks nice and sunny and warm, but real soon, as we all know, it's going to get cold and water's going to freeze. And so if you see this gutter right here is full of leaves and even has a little bit of dirt, if that's left long enough, you'll actually get vegetation growing out of your gutters. And that's a really bad thing for a couple reasons. Water can build up and actually sag your gutters if they're plugged, and it changes the slope of the gutter. So it no longer pushes the water down to the downspout and out. It actually gets into a little sag in the middle of the gutter, and it'll actually tear your gutter off, or your gutter will come off because of that. One last thing with gutters I'd like to explain to you is when they get plugged up, they actually cause the water to back up into the roof. And if you've heard of ice dams on your roof, oftentimes it starts with your gutter. And so water freezes in your gutter, and ice above the gutter melts. And somewhere in the middle, there's water that is just sitting there that can't get out down the roof. So ultimately, keeping your gutters clean is a really important thing to do to your home. It's pretty simple. If you can just climb up on usually a 6 or 8 foot ladder is plenty big enough. Grab some handfuls and clean it out. And if you can't get up on a ladder, paying somebody to do this is worth it. Thanks for watching today's Home Maintenance Minute.
Welcome back to Planning Preview for the month of October. Joining me now is Neil King, our Chief Building Inspector. Thanks for coming on the show, Neil.
Thanks for having me over.
Yeah, so it's great. It was kind of fun. We have kind of different people on the show doing different topics, and one of the ones that we hadn't done before, I guess, is have any of our inspectors on. So it's kind of great that you're willing to do it and kind of come on and talk to us a little bit about building inspection, our numbers, and maybe what you're seeing out in the field. So.
Yeah, thanks for having us here. So maybe somebody will get some new information.
Yeah, hopefully. So just maybe quickly, how long have you been working for the city?
2015 is when I started with the city, and I think I became the manager in 18. So
you've been doing that for 9 years, 8 years,
9 years now. So,
and the city hasn't changed at all in those 9 years, huh?
Just barely. Snail's pace.
So you manage, how many inspectors do you have underneath you?
I have 4 directly underneath me. So there's four inspection divisions, so electrical, plumbing, and mechanical, and so they each have their own group, manager. So
yep, and you guys then, your building inspectors kind of split up the city based on trying to get everybody equal inspections. It doesn't always work out that way. Try and split it so everybody's doing the same amount or somewhat that way.
Yep, we all have our territories.
Yeah.
You know, we got Tony Schmidt. He's in the northeast corner, and he's got a huge geographically, but then you got Alan, he's got small, but if you look at their numbers in the southeast there, he can do 10 inspections and never go 2 blocks, where Tony's putting on some mileages doing the same 10, so yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting how those different areas of the city, and it probably changes every year, which one's the more busy, and then you have to keep kind of adjusting your maps and all that stuff when it goes where. And then you guys do residential and commercial, right?
Yep,
correct?
Residential and commercial. So that's why I said we have our territory, so we don't specialize in one thing, and it's anything from a homeowner remodeling their bathroom to the big Sharapa and Steel District downtown here. So we look at it all.
So you brought along, I think you said, some numbers for your inspections this year. Maybe give us a little idea of like how many inspections you do average a year, and maybe how many like you guys do a day, just to give people an idea of like how much you guys are running around.
So yeah, I got just 2023 inspection totals through August. The building inspection group ourselves, we're our 12,999 through the end of August. So 1,300 inspections in 8 months. So yeah, our guys are moving. A lot of them are working through lunch, taking 20 minutes, just enough to eat their sandwich, start at 7:30, and so it's we're go.
So like you said everybody's done about 1,300 inspections or so. How long does each one, like what are the average for inspections?
I would say the average inspection takes anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes when we're talking about a new construction project, and I would say that more residential when I say that number.
Okay.
Commercial's all over the board. If you can be in an apartment building for 2-3 hours sometimes. So if we're inspecting siding and window replacements, that's almost as fast as we can walk around the house. So, there's a lot of those in there. That is a big number, and we do a lot of inspections, but a lot of those are those window and roof replacements, especially when we get the hailstorms like we have. That always drives our numbers up and our inspection numbers up. So
I bet with those. So you've been doing this for 9 years. So what was your most interesting inspection that you've done, or the coolest project that you've had to go through?
Amazon, I would say, would be that was a real fun project, and what made it fun for me is I was 22 years in the field doing the work before I was an inspector. Great. And just to see the fast pace that building went up, and how fast it went up, and the efficiencies and how big it was, that was very neat to see how that building came together in such a short amount of time. So
yeah, I bet that was 18 months or so. I think they built that thing out there.
Yeah, 18 months from when they dug the first hole till they were turning over the keys. So.
Well, that's great. A couple other things then. So maybe some of that, I don't know if a lot of people know, but you don't specifically deal with issuing the permits, but myself as a residential homeowner could come in and pull a permit to do with some building work myself.
Yep.
Maybe that's, a lot of them, I'm assuming, refinish your basement or finish your basement off in a house. It's one of some of the ones that you see quite a bit, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we get a lot of, homeowners like to save some money, so like to finish their basement. Yeah. Deck projects is another one you'd like to see a lot of homeowners do. Sheds, you need a permit to place your shed, so that's more of the zoning side when it comes to the inspection. But that's something that homeowners pull a lot of permits for. Windows and siding replacements, we usually see that more towards the home improvement companies that are taking those permits out.
That do those ones?
Yeah.
So what are the biggest things that you see are constant mistakes maybe that homeowners make that you wish that you could give them, educate them a little bit more on so they do it correctly, so you don't have to, I mean, you guys obviously don't want to come to a basement and have them rip off sheetrock or, you know, redo all this stuff, because they have to redo it and take time, and then you guys have to come back out again, right?
Yeah, I would say probably our biggest area of corrections when homeowners take out projects is their deck projects.
Decks?
A lot of them just don't realize decks are getting beefier and beefier by the looks, and that's because our lumber is younger and every year. So a 2x8 is not as strong as a 2x8 was 10 years ago.
Really?
Because the trees are younger, they're cutting them faster, so their wood just doesn't have that strength. So they'll say, my old deck only had 2 members for a beam. Well, now you have to have 3 because,
because of
the wood's
that.
not as strong as it was years ago.
So you guys have to constantly kind of keep changing what the minimum standards for a deck was to kind of keep up with that kind of stuff. I guess I wouldn't have thought of that at all.
Yeah, most people don't think of that stuff. So we have code changes every 3 years, and every code change, those joist span lengths get shorter and shorter for the same size lumber. Yep.
So what's a big thing that you see in a basement that you're like, oh man, I wish they would have done it this way or that way?
In basements, at the framing, when they're framing out their basements, fire blocking is a big issue that we miss, and that's just a hard one to explain to people. It's just one you kind of have to be in the home and showing them where it goes. And the purpose of it is, if there ever was a fire, we're trying to keep that fire from getting in your wall cavities and your floor and spreading out, trying to keep that fire contained. And it's something even a lot of contractors struggle with, because until you're out there intentionally looking for it, sometimes it's something easily overlooked. So,
are you still seeing, I know, you know, probably 10 years ago it was worse, maybe it still is, but the type of homeowners that maybe purchase a house with a finished basement and the people before them never took out permits, and then you guys got to go in there and they have to tear some stuff out. Are you still seeing quite a bit of that, or has that gotten a little better?
No, unfortunately we see quite a bit. I would say it's 4 to 5 times a month we get that phone call.
Really?
I'm trying to sell my house and I finished my basement without permits. What do I do now? And then unfortunately you're tearing off sheetrock. You know, we got to inspect. We can't see what's behind sheetrock. Electrical inspectors, they got to be able to follow the wires, see how it was stapled, and make sure there's no splices, and you know, so
pull a permit.
Yes,
if you need to. Don't try and take the shortcuts, right?
Call down to City Center. Phone calls are free.
And then I know the other thing that the plans examiners and permit techs down there always talk about is, if you're hiring a contractor, make them pull the permit, correct? Yes. Don't pull the permit for them, because then you're responsible for their work if they struggle doing it. And typically, who do you see that want the homeowner to pull the permit for them? People that aren't licensed?
Unlicensed people. You know, they don't have that insurance, they don't have that bond, and you know, that's really that's your insurance as a homeowner. So if they're building your deck and they walk off the job and they didn't do stuff to code, we have that bond to access to help get your project done right and put together, so you don't have another cost on top of your head. Whereas if you're the homeowner and you took out that permit for, well, he seemed like a great guy. Yeah. Well, then he walks away with some money in his pocket, and now you're stuck paying for whatever has to be fixed or complete what he didn't complete. So yes, unless you're doing the work yourself, please take out a permit, or please have the contractor take out the permit. So
yeah, and if you're buying a house, that's the other thing you talked a little bit about. Make sure that there were permits for some of the work that's been done in there, you know, before you purchase it, or make sure that they can prove that, so you're not stuck on the other way when you buy it and then maybe sell it. Somebody says, "Where's your permit for, you know, finishing the basement or something?"
Correct. Yeah, even if it was a homeowner before you that did the work and you weren't aware of it, you bought the house without asking those questions, well, the next homeowner, the next realtor might not want to deal with you if you don't have permits and that stuff inspected. So,
well, that's awesome. Anything else you want to give us at the end here for closing statements for you that you want homeowners or contractors to be aware of?
Just, it's still busy out there. I know it seems like it's slow, but I just looked right before we left, and we're right on pace with where we were with 2021, which we broke $1 million that year, or $1 billion. And yeah, we're just slightly ahead of that. So it's still busy out there. I know it seems slow because we've been going crazy for so long, but.
Yeah, and I know you guys, one other quick thing is, you guys do next day inspection. So if I call, is it before noon, I can get an inspection?
5 o'clock. You just have to call before the city office closes, and we can be out there the next day.
Which a lot of cities don't do, especially cities our size. I mean, that's one of the big things. I think people need to realize customer service that you guys provide, along with our plans examiners and permit techs. If you got questions, call. I mean, they're good at talking with people.
Yes.
We get an inspection the next day, so it's like we're not making you wait a week to check your footings and stuff.
Yep.
I mean, call for inspections.
Call for inspections.
Yeah.
Call us if you have questions.
Yeah.
You know, inspectors kind of get a bad rap for being the bad guy, but we want to educate people. We want to get your project done right. We want it done nice and clean, and so we're out there to help you.
Great. Well, thanks a lot for joining us, Neil. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and thanks for joining us for Planning Preview for the month of October. As always, our meeting will be on the first Wednesday of the month, which is October 4th this month. It'll be at 6 o'clock at the Carnegie Town Hall. As always, we do allow public input of any of the items that we talked about today, and also we do have that 5-minute public comment period at the end of the agenda if you want to bring up anything else planning related. So thanks, Sioux Falls, and have a great day.